So, if I had to describe the Suebi with one word, it would be nightmare. So the Germans are the fiercest of the barbarians. They're also, as of patch 17, the quickest. They have the quickest infantry of all the barbarians. The Suebi's main units are anti-infantry specialists. You'll see their club units have a bonus versus infantry, which is very useful for what they can do. The Berserkers are your best unit, however, when it comes to killing infantry in a short time span. The Suebi is one of my favorite factions besides Carthage, because of the fact that they can get a lot of kills initially, but you have to be good with their timing, and you have to be really micro intensive. They're really micro intensive compared to the Nervi. The biggest downfall is their weapon damage. Overall, it's less than even the Romans and the Hellenic factions. I think 3 out of the 6 melee infantry units you have 15 weapon damage, but then they have an extra 10 damage against infantry because of the fact that they use clubs. This means that the only unit that has high weapon damage overall is the Sword Masters, your high tier sword units. So their mass is a problem as well, because when you're bracing, they tend to get hurt a lot. And club units will get hurt the most because they can't hit back most of the time. So to summarize, like Epirus, the Suebi are a risk and reward faction. With the right strategies, mindset, and ferocity, the Suebi can be true underdogs. Using them frontally is only useful if you can do enough damage in the first 30 seconds after your unit makes contact with theirs, so that you can rout the unit quickly. Most mid-tier units will rout if they have lost half of their unit in a minute and are frightened by an enemy unit. If that isn't enough, use Cav to hit the rear. Keep in mind that the club units get the majority of their kills hitting the rear of non-expert charge defense units. So, in my opinion, the Suebi beat the Egyptians, but I don't know who they lose to yet. So, all in all, the Suebi are most effective when your micro is really good, and I don't really recommend you play as them if your micro isn't. So what can your typical Suebi army look like? Swordmasters is general. If you have the Beasts of War DLC, Wolf Warriors, maybe 1 or 2. Some people bring them as a core. I don't recommend it if you don't know how to route. If you don't know your opponent's army and how bad how good or bad their morale is, I wouldn't recommend bringing these guys. They do have a morale of 65, which means that if they do the same damage that a unit does to them, chances are the other unit will rout before they do. But still, your gameplay does revolve around multiple mid-tier units. You technically don't have a core, and these Hex Bearers have the same weapon damage as the Round Shield Swordsmen, but they also have the Curse ability, which reduces morale. I think it's up to 15. I could be wrong. I'll have to check it out afterwards. Spear-wise, you have a good spear unit right here. This spear unit does not have to go into shield screen if it's going up against a low charge unit, like Thorax Swordsman. Against the Romans, you might want to. Against the barbarians, it really depends on what their melee attack would be on the charge. Wodenath spears do a better job overall, even though they have less armor. Missile infantry wise, you have the best shields in the game overall, even for melee infantry. The Germanic slingers and Germanic youths have a 65 missile block chance, which is the best in the game. Melee cavalry wise, you have good melee cav, but you will lose to the Gauls. Missile cav is good. Sometimes they're useful, sometimes they aren't. Most of the time they're useful if you're going up against a faction that can bring elephants, or if you're going up against a faction that has better cav than you, and you don't want to spend a lot of money into noble riders. You might still want to bring 1 or 2 noble riders. What I usually bring is, if I'm not bringing Wolf Warriors, I'll bring 2 Berserkers. If I'm bringing Wolf Warriors, I'll bring 2 Wolf Warriors, and yeah. And then I'll bring Sword Masters. Usually I bring just 1. Every now and then I'll bring Hex Bearers because I know pretty much every faction by this point. Ram Shield Swordsmen are very potent frontline infantry. However, the Suebi overall don't have the best armor. Only Sword Masters have 80 armor. Bloodsworn usually are best on the flanks. Wolf Warriors are the ones that you want to hit frontally with on a clean charge. Spear Brothers tend to get the job done, but if you don't want to bring Spear Brothers and want a unit that can hold the line, Spear Wall is the way to go. If you want a more offensive spear unit, especially a spear unit that can hurt cavalry very quickly, actually, yeah, these guys, the Spearwomen can do it. However, you just have to be careful because if they get piled on by like 2 units, they'll get hit harder than Spear Wall will. Like, they won't last as long. Spear Wall won't win. Spearwoman might get more kills, but they'll probably lose too. People usually don't bring Night Hunters, except people that don't really understand how the Suebi works. Night Hunters are like a good unit. They're kind of like Berserkers, but when it comes to cavalry, they're very good against cav. They have guerrilla deployments, but they don't have the armor, and so you have to be very careful with them. They are another fear unit, so just keep that in mind when you're using them. If you want to get a fear unit up close and personal to like enemy cavalry, these guys are a pretty good option. However, just remember that they will not tolerate a lot of damage. So yeah, like sometimes I'll bring Spear Levy too. Usually I don't. I prefer Germanic Slingers overall. And then, yeah, this is pretty much what my army would look like in general. I do upload, or not upload, I stream a few of my replays where I play as the Suebi. My armies will look something like this. It might look a bit different, but the gameplay is pretty much the same. So yeah, that's all you need to know about the Suebi, really. And in 10 seconds, I'm about to talk about the next faction. So I'll see you guys then.